Part 9. So Chenkei Palace is behind us, and we're moving on to Arcades. So I'm setting my cursor there on warp mode. Warp mode you get from Clan Hall if you go there. If you skip Clan Hall, you will not have warp mode. Warp mode is a pretty neat item. It casts warp, and it has one use in this run, or I've found one use for the warp mode, and it is here. And it's not every time you have to use it, but it is pretty nice. And you will see that, I think. I think I got elevator trolled in this run. I'm not sure. Either way, here you have to talk to Lucky Man. There are 3 different options, people who you can talk to, but doing the Lucky Man and doing the Lucky Man is fastest way to do it. You also want to touch the save crystal there to make sure that Bosch is on full health, and I guess the girls are full health. Girls are full health as well, and that and that if you have like things like Doom on you, that would Iron Man can cast Doom on you, so that can happen. So yeah, you have to talk to that guy, Beasley, and then you go back to Jules, who is not where you left him, so you have to remember that. So don't run past him. And whole this time you are on a step count, so make sure your movement is not wishy-washy. Yeah, after talking there's a cutscene skip, and then you walk a little bit forward, and then there's some dialogue, and then you take this path. So we need to enter the magic shop, but in my chops route it's better to go to the magic shop, which is right there, during the chops, when you run past it anyway. And that is because entering the magic shop, it resets NPCs. But yeah, you paid or I paid some money to Jules before. You have to do that, and you have to pay money for him here as well. And after that you need 6,800 gil, and I have 6,727 gil, so I have to sell something. But I have the Mega Elixir. So, chops. So, you need to get 9 chops, and it's not clear which chops you should get. So, I'm gonna explain my route and important NPCs. This guy over here is one of the many researchers. I think this one is the Avid Reader. Usually Avid Reader spawns around there. Like, I'm pointing at the map, not the area. So he's a little bit closer here than I would expect him to be. And he looks a lot like Senior Researcher. So I think I went and talked to him. Yeah, I thought he was Senior Researcher, which is why I went and talked to him. And so there's typically in that corner, which is out of screen right now, but there's Avid Reader and Materialistic Woman. On the map, it's this area right here. Then there's this central plaza where there's sometimes Senior Researcher is, sometimes Senior Researcher is like more over there way. Then there's this guy. This guy is Eager Crier. He runs around and looks like Vaughn. And, or at least I think he looks a little bit like Vaughn. And he runs around here, and he's Eager Crier. Then there's a gray, like, let me see. There's this guy, who is Gentleman Onlooker. He looks exactly like another NPC in the screen, which also is is a possible job we pick up. Also, you can look at the minimap. All the green dots are NPCs you can talk to. So I would expect this one to be actually the senior researcher. But anyway, these NPCs they're all like over here. As you can see, the senior researcher looks a lot like Avid Reader, but the Avid Reader has shorter hair and the hair is black, and this guy has silver hair. And yeah. This guy is usually around here, but this time he was here, so you have to pay attention to where those NPCs are. And it helps to a little bit check beforehand, like if you see someone or someone out of place, you can realize that, so it won't mess you up. But also the NPCs move during the duel scene, so you can't exactly tell where they are, but beforehand, but you can sort of guesstimate where they are. So then there's this guy. This is the failed researcher, and he's always around this area, I think. And he's the second person you need to talk to. And the third person is a choice. It can be either Athletic Woman, who's this woman walking away, but because she's walking away, I don't think I'm talking to her. Instead, I'm talking to this guy, who is Gentleman Onlooker. And after Gentleman Onlooker, I have to talk to Eager Crier. Typically, if the Gentleman Onlooker, I pay attention to where he is beforehand, and then if he's close by to where that person I talked to before was, then I go for this one first. Or if the Athletic Woman is not around. Sometimes the Athletic Woman, who was the other NPC I pointed out, sometimes she's not there, so then in that case I would also go for a Gentleman Onlooker next. After Gentleman Onlooker, you have to go talk to the running guy, the guy who looks like Vaughn, the Eager Crier, and then you leave the zone after talking to that, or talking to them. So after this point, you have either 2 or 3 jobs, depending on whether you did the Athletic Woman to Avid Reader or not. So then the next job is a Talented Woman, who's always running. She can be running either to here or there or here. This is probably the best place for her to run, because now she's right on my path. She can also run like to there, or she can also stop right about there. But this time, yes, the world record is 5:48 something. 5:48:58, I believe. Anyway, after Talented Woman, you talk to this old man who's always here at the top of the stairs. And after that, you talk to this lookalike, who also always is around in this area. If you do it this way. If you do it other way, the NPCs can move differently, so you want to watch out for that. And then you talk to this other lookalike who looks exactly like the first one. And then and he's usually around here near the magic shop. And after that, you go to the magic shop to reset the NPC positions. And in magic shop, you need to buy Eroga, and you can also burn a little bit of steps like I did there while waiting for this guy to spawn. So here you can check your steps. And depending on what jobs you did so far and how your movement is, you can figure out from that number if you are on the right step count. If you have overstepped, it's really important to know if you have overstepped, because if you took more, you can still fix it if you took too many steps, and you can lose less time than you would lose if you realized it just before the fight that I overstepped, I need to burn 1,000 steps, because that's the way to do it. Also, I didn't really mention it, but Bosch tried to steal a couple of times from Mariman, and that's where this Sky Jewel came from. But yeah, I just told the Mega Elixir to have enough money, and then there's the Eroga you buy. Eroga is the top of the menu, so you can just, if you don't have to sell anything, you can just mash X and you buy Eroga, and that's it. And yeah, then you leave the magic shop, and you go here first. This woman is always around here. She's the Brood Mother. And then the tutor is always walking around here as well. So you talk to those two. Then you go here and turn right and talk to poor husband, who's always running around here. And then you go and talk to poor wife, who's this. There are two women here. Make sure you talk to the right one. This one is like wears more shaggy clothes, and this one has more elegant clothes, I guess. So talk to the one with the shaggy clothes and then leave. And now you talk to this woman first. She's the aspiring starlet. She's always there. And also this faded star. She's walking either this way or that way, but she's always around here. Same goes for determined researcher, who is always here. And then you talk to ex-researcher, who's always around here. Now you might recognize this woman. She's the athletic woman that I mentioned earlier. But you actually don't want to talk to her this time, because now you want to, at least I rather talk to varied husband, because I think his dialogue is shorter, and the other NPC you have to talk for that one is it's always this woman, and she's typically closer to the where you need to go than Avid Reader is, because at least this way Avid Reader tends to always be here at this point. So yeah, but you can, if you did the athletic woman to Avid Reader earlier. Oh yeah, the athletic woman goes to the Avid Reader if I didn't mention it before. If you did that before, then you want to, then you can skip that last shop. So that's something you want to look out for. But yeah, there's your chops. And yeah, after you have 9 chops, you can reach this place at Chernobyl. And yeah, meet with Balfir here, and there's some dialogue, and we can go a little bit faster. So you need to run this direction. The NPCs tend to get in your way, so it's a little bit annoying. There's a cutscene skip here, and then you have to run back. And remember that you're still on step count. And more text mashing. And then here, make sure you choose the you know where to go, which is not the default option here. If you if you accidentally choose take me to Neil Bass, you will have to go to Neil Bass, and you will have to watch the gap animation. Then you have to take the gap back here, because for whatever reason you can't take it. You can't go to you know where to go from the other station, so you have to get back here, and then you have to choose you know where to go again, and that will waste the whole minute if you pick up the wrong option there. But yeah, then we go to Draclar, there's the cutscene skip, and then you run forward. And you want to make sure your cursor, black magic cursor, is on Fyra, Penello's Fyra, that is. And then the magic cursor is on Arcane Magic, and then your actual cursor is on the warp mode. Then you have to go to the 67th floor and not talk to the elevator switch like a dumbass for 3 times like I did. I think I was figuring something out while I was doing this, so that's why. Possibly my traveler number. So yeah, you get to Sid's room, there's cutscene skip here, and you get the map of this place. That doesn't help. But you have to go to that room. So you get the... you can operate the bulkheads. The first one is here. You go into the room, you open the bulkheads, and then you leave the room. And now here are the first enemies of Draclar. So if you know you have overstepped, you can use Traveler on these guys. And then check the number, and you will have to burn about 300 steps on top of the Draclar instead of the 1000 steps that you would if you overstepped. But yeah, this is not recommended. But yeah, there you couldn't hear it because I don't have the game sounds on, but you would be able to hear a bling, and that bling means that you get an elevator troll. If you don't get the bling, you just run straight to that switch and go to the next floor. But because I got the bling, there will be enemies coming out of the elevator, and I have to wait for them to get out of the elevator and for the elevator doors to close again before I can operate this switch. So, as I hear them, I immediately stop fleeing. If you know where you are at the steps, you can burn a little bit you can burn some steps while you wait, if you need to. But then have Ash throw the warp mode at the Imperial Swordsmen that are after you. And as you can see, that killed all of them. Or it didn't kill all of them, you didn't get any XP or LP. But it got rid of them. And then it makes you take a lot less damage in the elevator troll. So that's the function of the warp mode. After the warp mode, after the elevator, make sure your cursor is on high potion again. And here is actually a pretty sweet spot where you can use Penello. You can have Penello. Penello has the potion lore 1, so if you use high potions with girls, you should prefer using one with Penello, because they heal for 440 HP instead of the 400 HP. But yeah, if Bosch has taken some damage, you can have Penello throw a potion at Bosch. Especially after elevator trolls. And you can also do them in these rooms. And note that your battle speed should be slowest while you are here in Draklor, because these enemies are hit pretty hard. But yeah, my HP is good enough that I don't need to high potion. But these swordsmen, they typically like to use a water spout on me, and that has a pretty high chance of knockback. And when you know, then what the battle speed really does, if you get knockbacks, then then you take much less damage. And there you can see how I throw the high potion with Penelo on Bosch, because so that I don't have to stop with Bosch. It's not as effective high potion as Bosch's would, since Penelo doesn't have as many potion lores as Bosch has. But it's not too much worse, and and you don't lose time, so, or it's faster to throw with Penelo than with Bosch, so that's a reason to do it. Because if you use it with Bosch, then Bosch is in action, and he can't operate these until the high potion animation is completely over. And same thing with the door. Like, he can't get out until he has opened the door. And I decided that 800 HP would be enough. I think I was considering a little bit whether I would heal Bosch, throw another high potion at Bosch or not. But I decided not to, and I got double launched immediately, and then I got double launched here as well, and then that caused Bosch to die, and then Penelo died as well. But Ash proved to be best girl, and was able to reach the switch without dying. And then after you get to the top floor, yeah, you can heal using the save crystal. Then you want to have ATB weight and battle speed on fastest for this setup. And you want to remove Penelo's weapon for the crit down again, unless you have the sorcerer's armor, or unless you have the sorcerer's hats. And if you have the sorcerer's hats, you can just leave the armor. You can just leave Penelo's staff on. Bosch should be without the mirror mail. And then you can do licenses. You start with Balfir because Balfir is left here at the green magic tree. So the first thing we want to get is the black magic 4 for the ladies. So that's Balfir is closest character that's left for that. So black magic 4 for Ash and Penelo. And here is something that's technically optional. Getting black magic 1 for Ash. Well, you might ask why. You only get access to Fire and Blizzard, and it's not like Ash is ever gonna use Fire or Blizzard. But now, but Penelo has this license, and you might have remembered me saying that, for example, when I was killing the pumpkin heads, I mentioned that Penelo and Ash, you have to tell Penelo to use the Blizzara first, so that you would get Ash. So that you would get cursor on Ash's Blizzara, and then you would have to change Penelo's cursor again at the next Pumpkinhead. And it's similar here, when you have to cast some bios. And so to have them in sync, that's why I get the black magic 1. It gets 3. It's like 3 seconds lost, but at least you won't mess up anything. And it's convenient here. It's convenient that when you kill Chimera Brains in Pharos, and it's just pretty nice. It's a nice thing to do to sync up their black magics. But it's optional. If you want to save this 3 seconds and 15 LP, then go ahead. Also, worth noting that if you have only two 2 elixirs at this point. There's a quickening from this gambit to, or this license to the directly to the right. So get this gambit, and if you have only 2 quickening or 2 elixirs at this point, then take this license for Fran and all the licenses that are to the right from it, and then continue. Then come back to this license, but only if you have only 2 elixirs. In other case, if you have more than 2, then don't do it. Or at least not yet. I will talk about that license later. But here, Bosch, you license white magic 1, black magic 1, and green magic 1 for Bosch, so that he learns Protect. Then you switch to Fran. No matter whether you got that license or not, you switch to Fran, or those licenses. There's also more. I think this is like, there's one more license after this one, this dark one. You get Time Magic 1, Arcane Magic 1, and Arcane Magic 2 for Fran. And that is so she learns Confuse. That's the important one. I don't think she uses any of the other spells she got there, ever. Then you switch to Penelo if you didn't get the channeling. Or no, sorry, you don't. That's next menu. I just messed up there. You're not supposed to do anything else in that menu. But then you switch your gambits to Bio, and if you didn't yet, give Ash the Reflect gambit, but turn the gambit on first, and then then get the Reflect gambit, and that way it saves the input. And then do the Bio. And then set up. So start with Bosch's, or sorry, start with the decoy and don't touch the save crystal again. Then use Protect with Bosch and Fyra with Penelo. And Fyra targets Ash so that Ash gets the, because if you target Penelo with the Fyra, then she will get in Spellbreaker and kill Ash with the spell. So that's why you want to do that. That's why you want to target Ash, so you hit Ash first before Penelo gets in Spellbreaker. Then you do the party member, you optimize everyone, make sure that both Ash and Penelo have Glacial Staves, and Bosch will get the Mirror Mail on. And at this point, you should be about 30 steps ahead of 30 steps before your Traveler number. That's a good amount to go with to go into the fight. I also forgot to mention at Bergen. At Bergen it's similar, and it's 50 steps you need to have before Bergen. But here it's 30. And make sure you are at a good number. If not, then burn some steps while Ash and Penelo are reflecting themselves, and then enter the fight with Ash and Penelo's gambits on. So, Sid 1 is a 2 or 3 phase fight, depending on how you want to see it. But so this is how the fight starts, and the first phase is ends when you kill. The fight is Sid and 4 rooks, and the first phase ends when you kill 1 rook. And 1 rook is a damage roll to die from 6 bios, so 3 from each, so 1 round. And the way but the problem is that the rooks are constantly moving, and you have to have all your characters closest to the same rook. And that can sometimes be hard. And the way you sort of want to do it is what I do is I run closer with Bosch. I switch to Ash, run Ash right next to Bosch, then switch to Penelo, run Penelo right next to Ash, and then switch back to Bosch and make sure that they are in like a line. But here, Bosch got actually knockbacked, and that pushed Ash away, so this is kind of not what you want to see, but I think it ended up working as well. And this damage roll is especially bad if you are level 25 still, as I am. But I think I got very lucky and got the kill. And not only did I get the kill, I also finished the fight with Bosch having full HP. So usually Sid will hit you twice, like once, then you throw a high potion, and then he will shoot you right at the end, right before the rook dies. But this time I was fortunate enough that Sid didn't get the second attack off, which is perfect. And so, okay, if the rook doesn't die, let's go back a little bit. So you have to pay attention to which rook you are hitting. So if the rook is not dead now, what you would do is you tell both Ash and Penelo manually have them both manually cast Bio on that rook and have Bosch throw another high potion. That's how you would deal with it. But the problem with that is if you ever get damage rolled, there's no way to avoid Sid getting shell off. So if you get the perfect first round, you can kill that rook before Sid gets shell. But if you don't, then Sid gets shell. After you kill the rook, the fight gets reset, but Sid will only have 3 rooks. But Sid will keep whatever buffs he had. So if he got shell off, he will still have shell off. If he didn't get shell off, he will not have shell off. And shell is important. So there are two versions of fights of this fight from this on. The one where he has shell, and one where he doesn't have shell. And I will cover the one where he doesn't have shell first, because that's what happens in this fight. So what you would do, usually Bosch is hit, so you would first thing you would throw high potion at Bosch. Even if Bosch is fairly close to full, you still throw a high potion at Bosch at first. Then I can skip that because Bosch is on full HP. Then have both Ash and Penelo use Bio on the rook. Now, if Sid doesn't have shell on, use Bio on rook C. But you can see that rook C is the one that died. If rook C died, use Bio on rook D. So, C if C is alive, if C is not alive, then D. And have them both cast Bio on rook D, and then have Bosch use Traveler on rook D. That's how you fight. That's how you should be able to kill all the rooks and Sid before they cast shell on Sid. Because how it works is that rook C is the one who casts shell on Sid, usually. So you want rook C to die first, because all the rooks are casting a different buff on Sid. But if the C is dead, then the D will be the one casting the shell on Sid. But if he has shell on already, then it doesn't matter which rook you target. You can even target Sid, it doesn't matter. But yeah, those 2 bios and the Traveler should kill all of the rooks. Sid will shoot you, but that's fine. He will after this point, unless you are at full HP and he hits you with a critical, then you should be fine on HP. Like you can see, Bosch survives here easily. Well, not easily. With the critical hit, he would have died, or would have survived. Also, in the last menu, if you can afford it, get HP plus 150 for Bosch if you don't have it yet. But usually, if you couldn't afford it before Ahriman, you also can't afford it before Sid. Like, because you need to get the protect. But the HP plus 150 would be really nice. So now Sid does not have a shell, and he should die in 3 rounds. And he will first cast haste, and then he will start walking towards the screen right now to cast Tokamak, which is his special move. But the goal is to kill him before that. You can press the right. You can press right or left on your D-pad to sort of open this info box, and that will show you that Sid doesn't have shell. So just make sure he doesn't have it, and then press circle to get rid of it. You can also see from the damage that if you're doing almost 3k damage, then you should be fine. And after 2 full rounds of bios, you want to do this menu where you remove Ash and Penelope's weapon. It works with either left or right. You can press either. But yeah, remove Ash and Penelope's weapons, and you can turn battle speed on active. And then that equipment removal works as an ATB reset, and even with the staves, they will have enough damage to kill Sid. And you don't want Penelope, at least you want Penelope to be unequipped for the next fight, or for the next crit down. If you have the sorcerer's hats though, you want to put the glacial staves back on. And then you turn off the gambits, and Sid dies. Sid dies when he reaches like 25% of HP. So that's why he dies, even though it looks like he has a lot of HP left. So, now, let's see the version where, let's go back and I will talk about what happens if Sid gets shell off. So the first part would be the same. Obviously, if you miss out on the damage roll, that's where the shell comes into play. Also, what can happen in this first round is that you hit different rooks with the bios. That's something that can sometimes just happen if the girls are out of sync for some reason, or if your positioning is bad. In that case, what you should do is that if you hit at least 5 of the bios on a same rook, then you can use manual bios on that rook like you would if you got damage rolled. If you got 4 or less on the same rook, then you will just have to... Or if you have 4, you can try to risk it and do the same thing on that rook. But if that rook doesn't die, then you have to ATB reset really fast, because the other rooks will get reflect on, and you might hurt Bosch. And but if you hit, typically you would hit 3. Well, I don't know. Typically, I guess you would hit 4 and 2. And what you want to do, or you would hit either 4 and 2 or 3 and 3. If you hit, say, 3 and 3, you just have to let Ash and Penelope... You just have to reposition yourself and have Ash and Penelope cast another round of bio and hope that kills another rook. And at that point, you can't do any manuals anymore, so you just have to have Ash and Penelope cast bio and Bosch spamming high potions until a rook dies. That's how you recover the first phase. But the problem, of course, is that you start... If it takes too long, you start running out of MP. Decoy actually doesn't matter, the decoy timer, because Sid always targets the closest, and the rooks are buffing at the start. So if decoy runs out, it's no big deal, as long as the fight doesn't drag too long. The decoy is actually you don't even need to cast decoy really for this fight. Like you can definitely do the fight without decoy, but just for safety, like sometimes Bosch doesn't end up being the closest person to Sid, and sometimes the rooks start shooting you if it's taking you too long. But yeah, then the Dispel version, it's the start is the same. You would use Traveler and 2 bios as you would, except that it doesn't matter which rook you target because she already has Shell. So then after the final rook dies, you want to instantly ATB reset Penelo. So now you would ATB reset Penelo because the last rook just died. And you do that by removing Penelo's weapon. Then you tell Penelo to cast Dispel on Sid. Meanwhile, Ash is using a round of bio. And then you take a look at Penelo's MP. And as soon as Penelo loses MP from the Dispel, in this case it's bio, but I was using the MP to demonstrate. As soon as she loses MP, then she has you ATB reset her by equipping a cherry staff on her. And then you let her gambits to roll for the second round. So she would be casting bio as well as Ash. So then you would count, let's count Penelo's bios here. That's 1, 2, 3. And once Penelo's third bio finishes, Ash's should have already finished by that point. Then you then you remove the weapons and finish the fight as normal. And actually, hold on. Actually, I missaid before, or misspoke before. So after the Dispel, you ATB reset by equipping the cherry staff. And then you wait 3 bios, like I said you would. And then you ATB reset by optimizing Penelo, which will put the glacial staff on her. Then you will wait. Then we will do another 3 round of bios from Penelo, and then you will do the actual ATB reset that we would do in a regular fight. So that you should still be able to get 3 rounds of bios off before Tokamak. Also, one thing you can do here, one thing you can do here when Sid starts moving, you can sort of block his way. It doesn't make him use Tokamak any like this. You can like so that he starts walking around Bosch. You can block him a little bit. That's not so that he will not use Tokamak any later, but he will stay longer in the reflect range. So if you don't do that, he might walk so far that some of your reflects don't, some of your bios don't actually land on him. But yeah, that's Sid 1. That's a very technical fight. Very easy to lose runs on. That's my personal biggest run killer. Because I just keep... If you mess up the Traveler in that fight, it's pretty much over. If the bios take too long... If you take too long to kill the first Rook, it's pretty much over. It's just a rough fight to recover at. One recovery technique in that fight you can do, though, is that if you know you're not gonna kill before Tokamak, you can ATB reset everyone and turn off their gambits, and then take everyone out of the party, and get Balthier in to be the sacrificial lamb, and have Balthier to tank the tokamak and die, and then bring Bosch. With Bosch, you run close to Sid. As I mentioned earlier, Sid always targets the closest. And then you face away from Sid, so that when you take Ash and Penelope out, they will spawn so that Bosch is between them and Sid. So Bosch stays closest. And yeah, they always spawn the direction where Bosch is facing, assuming there is room for them to spawn there. So that's why you face away from Sid before you do the menu. And then just use high potions to keep Bosch alive. And also, if Bosch dies at the start of Sid fight, like if Bosch gets critted twice and dies, or something like that, what you can do is you can license Mirror Mail for Vaughn, and have Vaughn be the tank for the rest of the fight, assuming you already got Traveler. You already casted Traveler. If you didn't, you can just let Vaughn die and revive Bosch, and then have Bosch come back when Vaughn dies, and then use Traveler with Bosch. Or you can just not equip the Mirror Mail on Vaughn and just let Vaughn die to... You can let Vaughn die to the bios that the girls cast. And also, Sid's weapon is a gun. And guns ignore defense. So Sid will deal the same damage whether you have the armor on or not. So the only reason for the armor for Bosch is to... Well, aside from Rook damage, the only reason for the armor for Bosch is the reflect that the Mirror Mail gives. So you don't need to have any armor on if you are, say, recasting Decoy or something to recover. But I guess that's the... that's it covered. So after Sid, you end up in Balfenheim. And in Balfenheim, you have this little bit of dialogue. And then you head straight to Gerwagen. Or you start heading straight to Gerwagen. But that is for the next part, which will be in which I will cover hopefully the whole Gerwagen. So I'll see you in the next part.